Draft on YouTube. Wednesday night special of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast going live on YouTube and all across the hockey realm. We are in our casual listener league, 16 teams going pick by pick till we finish the draft. Let's get after it and get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. What is good, my fantasy fanatics? Welcome back inside the lab to a live edition of your daily 30-minute source for all things fantasy hockey. It is the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, and we are fired up for our first listener league live draft. It is the quote-unquote casual league, Mr. Rodin, but there is nothing casual about the intense hockey action that's going down in this league. Before we get to an absolute exciting episode of round-by-round action, you know we got to give a shout-out to our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the app today by visiting FanDuel.com. Get $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 wager hits. This is awesome, my friend. And before we even get too far down the line here, I got to shout out to everybody who showed interest in this league and our draft tomorrow, the quote-unquote competitive league. We only throw those terms out there for the buy-in because I know both are competitive. I am so fired up for this, and it means the world to both Steele and I that you guys are so interested in what we got going on. We try and get you guys in and out in 30 minutes. This is the short and sweet fantasy version, and soon, Steele, nightly betting breakdowns, which I'm fired up for as well. Over to you. Tee us up a little bit. Set us up for what we're doing here. This is year number 3. Hit me with the details. I know you're the businessman of this show, so why don't you take care of business for me? Because that is a compliment, my friend. You're the numbers man. You're the numbers man.
I appreciate you. We both struggle with the numbers out here. Math is not our strong suit, but we are fired up to go live. This is our first time in 3 years doing a live show, so we are absolutely pumped, and we are super excited for our first draft between our listener leagues. Casual, like you said, nothing casual about it. $25 buy-in, $400 if my math is correct on the line. Prizes are percentaged out. The winner will walk away with $250. So we are absolutely pumped, but it is a categorical format. And we got 2 centers, we got 2 left wings, we got 2 right wings, 4 defensemen, utility spot, goalies, 4 bench spots. And, just based on how we got some, feedback last year about some IR spots and IR plus spots. I'm not a huge fan of throwing, 5, 6, 7 IR spots going into the league. I think as a manager, my philosophy is you have to manage your team, and obviously injuries come with the sport. We know it's going to happen, and you just got to manage appropriately and properly.
Sure.
But yeah, categorical league format. We got goals, assists, penalty minutes, power play points, shots, blocks, hits, and then of course the goalie stats: wins, goals against average, shutouts, and save percentage. So we are absolutely pumped for this to get going. Thank you all for tuning in so far.
Yes,
and for
sir.
everybody once again joining us for another great season.
This is just also a really good time to be a fantasy sports fan in general. And, shout out to everybody who's been asking questions about the league. You do a great job, Steele, at managing 2 leagues. You know what it's like as a GM. You got people in your ear. You got people complaining. Why isn't it this? Why isn't it that? Why don't we have this category? Oh, the draft time is this. This is classic fantasy sports. And even me, the old man, giving you a hard time saying, hey, why can't we get this going a little earlier? These are kind of the fun angles with the fantasy drafts, and we're going to get to the nitty gritty. I can't wait to break down our teams very quickly, though, to kick this off here. If you're not watching live on YouTube, for our listeners out there, this is a 16-team league. I've drawn the 7th overall draft pick. Mr. Rodin here, the Locomotive 2.0. Shout out to Loki, by the way. Hope your girl's doing as amazing as you are, my good friend. Steele comes in here at the 13th spot. So I think actually, Steele, this gives us 2 really intriguing angles here for you and I to, this isn't handed to us here. 7th and 13th, we're going to have to really stay on our toes here as fantasy hockey GMs. And it gives us a nice little gap also in between, just for content wise, to talk about our picks. So I'm in at 7, you're in at 13. Over to you, because I think I have a lot more options at 7. At 13, I know you're already considering some players. How are we feeling here about the 13th overall draft pick? We are 4 minutes and 20 seconds to starting draft. So over to you for a little bit more preamble.
Yeah, you know what? I don't want to give too much away. We've talked
we
about
do
our
have live
draft strategy.
listeners.
We do have live listeners. I don't want to give my strategy away too much. And if you've been tuning in over the last month and a half, I think when I've said if I'm in this position, a little bit later in that first round, I'm going after 2 guys. So I'll tease it like that. Hopefully everything goes according to plan. Skyline, just answering your question here in the live comments. No face-off wins. Again, appreciate everyone tuning in right now and commenting on the show. So appreciate it. But no face-off wins, goals, assists, power play points, penalty minutes, shots on goal, hits, and blocks. I think I might be forgetting one category there for the offense and defense, but it's pretty much just standard format there. We were talking about potentially adding either the plus minus category or the shorthanded points. We decided just to leave it. I think
that's a good call, Steele.
Yeah, you don't want to overload it with some of these categories. And this is pretty much our bread and butter here with what we're doing. I think the one difference from, again, getting constructive criticism from last year was the waiver wire ads and, the amount of players you could add per week. Last year, we only had 75 ads for the entire season and only 5 ads per week. Again, not a lot of people were, I don't want to say not happy about it, but they would have rather more options and availability that way.
We had people complaining about the ads. Okay.
No, not complaining, but again, constructive criticism.
No, for sure.
So we upped it to 90 ads for the year and 7 ads per week. So again, that goes back to my philosophy of being really on your team, managing, and again, when injuries come into play, it's hard to manage it at that point. If you have a lot of injuries and you only have one IR spot and 2 IR plus spots, you got to know what to do. And again, hitting that waiver wire is crucial. So we're really looking forward to that this season as well. But 2 minutes away and we are getting after it here.
7 ads a week is a luxury, in my opinion, Steele. And I think you're being a very generous GM here. But look, at the end of the day, I think that fits the mold to what we talk about on our show all the time. And it's important to both of us. We are the podcast for everybody. There are a variety of different fantasy sports, especially hockey out there, for the more dedicated heads, for the analytical heads. We try to be a little mix of everything for everybody, and that's why we also throw in the betting angle at the end of every single episode. Yes, we're fantasy focused. We bring you guys news. We bring you guys the analysis and the betting angles. So I think upping it to 7 moves a week in terms of adding and dropping players is intriguing, Steele. Feels like a lot to me. I kind of like it. That actually means you might have to do a less is more approach at times if your team is really doing well. I'm fired up here. Like you said, 1 minute to the picks start flying off the board. We'll be here from the start of the draft all the way to the end of the draft. This is year number 3, I believe, Mr. Roden. I know I struggled big time in one of our leagues last year. I believe it was the competitive league, but I snuck into the postseason. Remind me of how many teams make the postseason here, and then I'm ready to start seeing some names fly off the board here.
8 teams in the postseason, 3 weeks of playoffs. Top team. So there are 2 divisions, and the top team from each division will get that first seed. Of course, there is no reseeding. It's just based off where you finished in the regular season. Tiebreaker goes to obviously the team that beat you, or the team that won in the regular season against, if there is any ties out there. We are 20 seconds away from takeoff here. I'm excited actually to see where these goalies go. We've done a lot of mock drafts. We've seen them go early. We've seen them go late. We've talked about 0G strategy and waiting to find that value later in the draft. So I'm excited to see where some of these goaltenders end up.
Absolutely. And I guess let's take a little time here to also reflect on the fact that you yourself last year probably operated the 0G strategy at an elite level, my friend. You and I have talked
Yes.
how your keeper team is actually shaken out already with you getting creative right off the jump. You got Vamelka, I believe. You've got another goaltender that, falls into the 0G strategy. And you reminded me of it last year. And please do again for our listeners, who you ended up finishing with. I think it was Casey DeSmith and someone else. And you did really well in your league. So I think that just really proves the point of if you know what you're doing, though, right? And that's what I mean about every single GM has a different set of experience. You have a ton, you navigated it well. So I think it's all about who you are and what league you're in.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty at the end of the season. Casey DeSmith, Vitek Vanacek, and Sam Montembeault. I was just picking up goaltenders left, right, and center off the waiver wire. And, somehow ended up winning. I think the team I was playing against had some injuries, which obviously helped me. It was in my favor that way.
This
but
pick's for you,
still,
by the way, Steele. This pick's for you at number 7.
Okay, let's eat there. I knew it was going to be Kaprizov at 7. You did it last year to me too. You took my boy, but obviously we expected him to go around that way. And even with these first 8 picks here, it's been pretty standard. Maybe Brady Tkachuk a little bit higher than where we had him. Still a first round guy, Banger League beauty. So I actually don't hate Brady Tkachuk at 6, but we had him a little bit lower. Look, Farm Sim crew, I know you're coming after me tomorrow. I'll get this up on the channel. Thank you so much for leaving the comments here. They're coming after me. They're coming after you too, Flip. It is going to be a chaotic day for both today and tomorrow with these picks.
Well, thanks for putting us up live, Steele. I want to be clear that I tried to stay out of the limelight here. Mans wanted to stay secluded in my corner with a couple of light sativas and a couple of wobblies, but we're here ready to go. Quickly off the top, McDavid 1, McKinnon 2, Kucherov 3, Draisaitl 4, Makar 5, Brady Tkachuk 6. I take Kirill the Thrill 7, Matthews at 8, Rantanen at 9, love it. David Pasternak, 10. Quinn Hughes at 11. Then Kyle Connor. I believe you're on the board, my friend. 30 seconds. Who are you going with? That's a very good pick with Jack Eichel.
Yeah, I mean, again, I alluded to the strategy here. I've said it over the last couple of weeks that if I was in this position somewhere between the 12th and last pick, if Jack Eichel falls to me somewhere in that range, I'm going after him. I think this is a player that established himself again as a superstar after years of injuries. Vegas Golden Knights have been so good, and now with Mitch Marner in the lineup, I just think, and that's who I was going to take second. Who we just drafted last in the first round here. I was going to go. Hopefully,
people are on to you with that one, Steele.
They were on to me. I was hoping to get Mitch Marner when it swung back around, but unfortunately, that is not the case.
Look, it's what's going on in Vegas right now. If you were already buying into it, they didn't have the secondary elite level player that Mitch Marner brings to the table. And does that always mean exact success? Because I think we've seen it across the board in the NHL that just adding a bunch of players into the mix to a good team can actually be a detriment. That's not what they did here in Vegas. They added Mitch Marner alongside Jack Eichel. This is the best player Jack Eichel has ever gotten to play with. This is a spot where I think it's going to be huge in Vegas. Evan Bouchard at 17 is somewhat intriguing when you still have Zach Werenski on the board. I'm going to question that one, Steele. We've got lots to talk about tonight, and we're going to be here a little while, so I'm going to try and keep these synopsises pretty short, especially with you coming up here. But Jack Hughes at 18, Braden Point at 19, and you're back up on the board at 20th overall.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting place to be right now. I was really hoping that some of those wingers would still be available. I really like Zach Werenski and what he can bring on the blue line, especially for a Banger League category. Philip Forsberg's out there, Sidney Crosby. I already got a centerman. I think I got to pull the trigger here and go after Zach Werenski.
I agree, dude.
Maybe a little bit higher than where
I totally
had him ranked, but get a star-studded defenseman at that point is very crucial for a successful season.
In a 16-team league, I would say for sure. Look, I know the value in forwards in the points leagues, and you want to load up on the guys that are 80-plus points all day. But in leagues like ours, where we really do attribute some value into the peripheral categories, and remember, we've got 4 D slots to fill. So that is also just in terms of bodies in positions. That is a spot that needs to be filled. Yeah. So I love that pick there for you. We've already seen Hellebuck go. Vasilevsky go, Steele. Now Jake Ottinger goes. Mark Scheifele. I'm up in one pick. I'm looking at guys like Boldy, Celebrini, but I really do want a defenseman, and I don't think reaching for Rasmus Dahlin here is too crazy.
Nope.
I'm going to let this last pick go off the board. I know Gensel's here. Forsberg's here. My boy Crosby is here. Breadman is still here. So that's Artemi Panarin off the board. I feel like I might be doing a disservice to my entire being as a fantasy GM to not take Sidney Crosby here at this spot. My brain tells me to go down the board and take a player like Rasmus Dahlin, especially because I already have a very offensive-minded forward in Kirill Kaprizov. But let's not forget, Sidney Crosby has also been bringing peripheral categorical value. So I'm going to not back down off my guns here. This is Sidney Crosby. And let's not forget,
and Dahlin goes right after.
This year. This is the Olympics this year, Steele. Hey, that's a good pick by I don't want to repeat that name because I'm still going to butcher it, even though it's clean. Sidney Crosby's playing for the Olympics this year, Steele. You're going to see another special year from Sid. I will take on all oncomers and arguments if you don't think Sidney Crosby's going to return to elite level performance. This might be a really good time here, Steele. We got a little option, a little window. We got lots more draft to come. I would like to give a shout out, if you don't mind, to our friends at Monarch Money, where today's episode could be brought to you by just that. If you're looking to take control of your financial accounts and know what they're worth, 401ks, properties, investments, and when you have the full picture, you can get all the money that you need. That's where Monarch Money comes in, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or phone. Monarch Money is built for people with busy lives, and you want to be tapping into it today and finally feel in control of your money. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Right now, checked out. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL.
And thank you so much for everybody tuning in to the live draft casual league. We really do appreciate all that love and support you show us.
That's a fact.
All season long, even throughout the off season, the summertime. It means the world to Flip and I. And we couldn't be doing this without you all. So thank you so much for tuning in and showing us some love. Interesting, bold strategy from our returning winner, Trevor, the Hardley Golden Boys. Back-to-back defenseman. He drafted Cale Makar in the first round. He follows that up with Victor Hedman in the second. So, we very interesting to go back-to-back defenseman, but absolute studs out there for him.
Yeah, I guess I would have. Look, I've come onto the show and said a lot that in our leagues, I don't like going too heavy-handed in any position. That's just because we have 16 GMs, Steele. You have to remember that barrel will empty quickly. Defensemen still left on the board. Chychrun, Uyghur, Adam Fox, Jake Sanderson, Roman Josi, Thomas Harley, Noah Dobson. There are lots of good options here, so I think you probably would have been able to wait. I'm not exactly saying it's like your season's cooked by those two picks. I would have definitely tried to go with a forward there. However, I just went with two forwards. So at the end of the day, this is one of those spots where looking at the top two rounds of picks, even in a 16-team league, Steele, you almost have to put the blinders on and stick to what you think you plan to do later in the draft, if that makes any sense. Because if you start to do what the Uncle Flip special is, you just kind of have a couple of wobblies and you just start drafting all the players you really like. Because look, I'm not going to hate on the guy for taking two really good defensemen. It happened to me, last year or the year before? You were like, dude, you took Nick Suzuki way too early. He's a good player, but he didn't establish that fantasy value just yet on that elite level up in those rounds. So I think that's one of those cases where I would point that out. However, with me coming up here in two picks, Steele, 39th overall, I got Sid, I got Kaprizov. I do need a defenseman. I'm looking at this player here, Steele, that I don't think we need to separate his ability to change the game on the ice to what he means in fantasy. I'm taking Jake Sanderson. This is an elite defenseman. I don't think I need to sell anyone here. So I pass on Chychrun, Uyghur, and Adam Fox. Maybe there's a little bit more offensive upside with Fox. Otherwise, Jake Sanderson and the Ottawa Senators, I'm all in on. So that's my take on that. I think Jake Sanderson as my first defenseman is a win. Well, back over to you. You're up here in 5 picks, it looks like, at the 45th spot.
Yep.
How you feeling so far? Who you looking at? All that jazz.
Real quick, just to answer Jay Skyline's question, what's your league scoring for goalies? Wins, goals against average, save percentage, and shutouts. Those are standard format, for what Flip and I do on a yearly basis in any of our leagues pretty much. I know a lot of people out there do those as well. I know in points leagues, it's a little bit different. But wins, goals against average, save percentage, and shutouts for the goalie categories. And look, this is 2 picks away from me. I'm looking at a couple guys here. I'm not trying to give away. I know my queue is out in the open here for some of the players.
Wait.
I'm gonna try to stay away.
Queue's out in the open, but I don't want to give away too much. See, these are the perils I was trying to warn you about.
The queue is gone. The queue is gone.
There we go.
Yeah, it's been. I'm really liking the Blizzard Battalion's team so far. Kucherov, JT Miller, Clayton Keller. I think Clayton Keller is going to go off this season. I really like this Utah team.
And just to recap a little here, totally agree. JT Miller at 30, Jake Gensel at 31, Igor Shesterkin 32, Lane Hudson at 33. I guess they've been listening to the pod, Steele, because I've been pumping him up. Macklin Celebrini 34, Clayton Keller 35. Then Gus Buss, Philip Forsberg, Timmy Stutz, my boy Jake Sanderson. Ooh, someone took Thomas Harley off my table. Hey, Puff Pass Score. I appreciate you. And we got Boldy, Yossi, Tage Thompson, and then you go Ovi. How are you feeling about taking Ovi at 45?
Look, I've told everyone how I feel about the Washington Capitals, and we did our rankings for the Metropolitan on yesterday's episode or this morning's episode. And while we do believe that Washington will regress at least in the standings, this team is deadly. And Ovechkin played phenomenally last year, even missing 20 odd games with a broken leg. Came back so quickly and still put on a clinic. So if he stays healthy, he played 65 games last year and had 44 goals, 29 assists. And if he stays healthy for close to a full 82 regular season, I think he's over 70 points, 75 points. No questions asked.
Yeah, look, I think I'm going to be in a very small minority and up a hill here, still trying to argue against Alex Ovechkin. However, I just look, we don't need to get into it. If you want to hear how we think about the Washington Capitals, just tap into the last couple of episodes. I'm going to leave it at that. I will say, though, at the end of the day, when I look at a guy like Pierre-Luc Dubois, I look at a guy like Tom Wilson, who has been injured a lot in his career. I guess what I just don't want to do is overload on Washington Capitals. If you want me to hedge a little bit here, just be careful. Ovi is a kind of an obvious take, but maybe just don't have your whole team littered with Washington Capitals. But I think that's kind of an obvious thing. I wouldn't load up on too many teams, more than maybe 2 or 3 different players. But I believe you just made another pick. Oh, Cole Caulfield. Okay. How we doing? Is he a 40-goal scorer yet, Steele, or how are we feeling about that?
I think there's a really good opportunity for him. I really like Montreal as well. I've already done 2 drafts this year, and the teams have been barely similar with the guys that I've picked. There's a lot of really good options that are going off the board right now. Like Tom Wilson just went, which is a really good pick for this round as well. 51st overall from Muskoka All Skates. Josh Morrissey was taken right after my pick. I'm also liking Bill's team over here. He's loaded up on the blue line. You got Mitch Marner in the first round, and then Bouchard, Uyghur, and Moritz Seider. Uyghur and Seider just fill out all those peripheral categories. Yeah. Guys who can put up on the high side 50 points. And I think with Seider, there's a lot more room for his ceiling. It just hasn't happened yet, but hits, shots on goal, blocks, they fill out all those penalty minutes included for both those guys. He's loaded up on the blue line, so he's going D heavy here.
And you know what, though? That might be a hard thing to go up with head to head if he's absolutely dominating those categories like week to week. And I think that's kind of a good takeaway, even though we're doing the live draft, is you have to be really on point with the teams that you're going up against and know their strength. If you see a guy like that and he's loaded up with those pieces, block shots, hits, you're going to be really in tough to get those categories. So maybe you need to do something else somewhere else to really get a leg up. I'm up here at 58th overall, Steele, and this banger league angle that you keep mentioning makes me want to go down the board a little bit. I think this player might still be there. I don't even want to say it because you're going to take him. I absolutely know it. Damn it. I'm even just put it out there. He's going to get sniped off my table. Excuse
Who
me.
is
I
it?
just need to I'm having a deep thought here. I'm not even going to put him in my queue. Now I'm stressing. Oh my goodness. This is exactly what happens.
10
I'm just going
seconds.
to do it. I'm going to stick to my guns and I'm going to reach a little bit, but I'm taking Travis Konechny, and I know I could have potentially waited here. This guy's just going to provide too much categorical value, Steele. And when I look at Jake Sanderson, Crosby, and Kaprizov, I want to make sure I get another forward that can fill me out some hits and block shots and penalty minutes, because that's a tough angle to cover. So I'd rather kind of go there. And I know for a fact with your pick coming up here, I'm sure you would have been going after that guy almost assuredly. So first of all, calm down. Second of all, giddy up.
Yeah, most likely would have gone after a guy like Travis Konechny. He would have been right there around
Little
that
early.
area
I get it. It's a little early.
Still,
Not
I mean,
much,
with how we feel about that top line, even with Michkov, this is a guy that, again, can put up 30, 35 goals, 35
dual
assists,
eligibility.
Dual eligibility. He's really got it all. Puts up a ton of shot volume too. So no, reach on him a little bit, but if you feel really good about a player and you have that gut feeling, you got to listen to what your body's telling you here. So
Appreciate
no,
it.
I like the pick. Your team's shaping up to be really good. Of course, you got my boy, so I love the team already. And with Kirill Kaprizov,
auto support from Mr. Rodin on that one, I'd say.
Auto support. I got him in my other league too, so I've already got him in one league. I'm happy. I'm ready to go. I got to share the love with other people out there. He's gonna be a force to be reckoned with this season.
A little bit easier to get behind too, now that he's absolutely locked in long term. And hey, no, but that could have been a concern, right? Let's be real. We cover news on this show. We cover the fantasy takes. We cover the betting angles. If we see someone out there like Billy G or even the franchise saying they were a little frustrated with the news getting out and being kind of embarrassed in public, you know that if he didn't agree to their latest offer, that's an angle hanging over the team. Let me recap quick after my Konechny pick, 58th overall. Adam Fox next, Martin Necas, Miro Heiskanen, your boy, Shea Theodore, Sergei Bobrovsky, Nikolai Ehlers, Matty Nyes at 65. Maybe we start talking about this deal because, look, I got some players that are coming up here that might fall into the in-between window for me that I might not be able to get if I have to wait till the other time around. I think Matthew Nyes here, that might be a little bit early, but I don't know what your take is that now that was technically at the end of the fourth round. I think that was a little early for Matthew Nyes.
Looks like the first pick in the fifth round, and honestly, I like it. This is a guy, I don't believe he has dual eligibility, only just left wing position, but for what he's projected to put up this season, 30 goals, 30 assists, he's one of those players. I believe he was in that conversation of over 160, 70 shots. He had over 150 hits. He fills out the peripherals. He's a workhorse out there. He plays a very hard game, and he does all those little things that you want from your fantasy team. He's great in front of the net with his hand-eye coordination, getting his stick on pucks, battling in the corners and coming up with them, creating those opportunities in the offensive zone. So yeah, maybe a little bit early, but again, we just talked about Travis Konechny and how you feel about him. Maybe he feels that way about Matthew Nyes totally this season.
Totally. And look, I won't lie. I'll let it slip now, even we're on a slight delay. Like we're at the 68th, 69th, 70th overall pick, and I'm coming up at 71. The likelihood is I'm going to take a goaltender here, Steele. I personally just have been burned far too many times, and there are still some good names here. Aiden Hill, Darcy Kemper, Thompson, Sorokin, Wolf, Markstrom, Ullmark, Stolars, a whole bunch. But with 16 teams in this league, and shout out to the Hardly Golden Boys. If you're listening, you took Seth Jarvis. I'm ready to throw hands. That's enough. That's enough. See, now, Steele, this is exactly what I told you. I didn't want to do this live because now your boy is heated. I don't have enough Miller High Lifes in the fridge. So now I'm definitely going on tilt. And look, I talked highly about Darcy Kemper. He's coming off an excellent season. I see Dustin Wolf here. I think the LA Kings are somewhat underrated and being slept on. I'm going to take Darcy Kemper. Sue me if that's a little bit too early. You have spoken about how underappreciated that goaltender is. I
Yeah.
think his numbers speak for themselves. He has a Stanley Cup. I understand on a good team. I'm going to take Darcy Kemper here. I'm intrigued to see what you do here with your next 2 picks, though, coming up at 77th overall and 84th overall.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to see a lot of goaltenders go, like you just said. Blackwood, Hill, Kemper, Wolf have just gone in the last 6 picks here. Again, still some really good options here for goaltenders: Logan Thompson, Sorokin, Markstrom, Allmark, Stolar. So, I think I'm going to continue to wait on goaltenders right now. I have a player that I'm really intrigued to see if he is still there. And
Just say
honestly,
it. Just say it.
surprised that
Just
he
say
is
it.
still available right now.
Just say
I'm
it.
still 2 picks away. I don't want to
Oh,
give it
oh,
up.
oh, oh. See, this is spicy. I like this. I should have probably thought that through a little bit more. But at the end of the day, look, genuinely, I know I speak for you on this one, pal. The fact that we even have 25 people in here on there, we're so
It's
busy this day
awesome.
and age. It is awesome, and thank you for pushing me to do this live. Shout out to you guys listening, and everyone who isn't live. It's huge, and hey, the coverage doesn't stop. We got Waiver Wire Monday specials. We'll have special guests coming up as well. We want to build you a winner and sustain it all year long. And don't get me started on bet steal. I'm ready to roll this year. A whole new format for our betting segment. I haven't even rolled it out with you yet, but I'm ready to go.
I was going to say that's probably one of the biggest reasons why you drafted Sidney Crosby is the anytime assist every single betting night. And it hammers out. It hammers out. This is the player that I was looking at. I'm a little surprised that Connor Bedard has gotten all the way down to the bottom of the 5th round, ranked 43rd, 41st on expert rankings here, dual eligibility with center right wing position. And I think the big thing that helps him in this case is we don't have the plus minus category, which would have hurt his stock. So a little bit surprised that he is here at this position. And again, usually I would tend to stay away from drafting the centerman too early because you can find a lot of value in the later stages of the draft. But when you can get Jack Eichel in that 13th pick overall, and then you can get Connor Bedard in the late 5th round, you got to jump all over it. So, I'm pretty happy with how my team's turning out so far.
Yeah.
I've got another player locked and loaded, ready to go when it swings back around to me. But back to you, Flip. How are you feeling so far about the draft?
Hey, I looked at Connor Bedard the last time I was had my pick, and
yeah, I
if
didn't
not
pan out.
for some more peripheral coverage that you don't really get with Connor Bedard, I would have snapped him up because I think, look, Andre Burakovsky on his wing isn't exactly selling me. Sam Rinzel, Frank Nazar, some of these good young players that are starting to take a look. Spencer Knight with a whole year under his belt in Chicago. The team will be better. And I think that means improved offensive numbers for Bedard. So I like the pick. I would say, though, knowing that he is probably going to be still at this point in his career, establishing that two-way game, those block shots, he's not a hit guy, but those kinds of things, just augment out your roster. You know this, but I'm saying it out there for everyone still listening. I like the pick, though, Steele. I think it's a good one at this point in the draft. A lot of value here offensively.
Oh, I'm super upset. I'm really liking Bill's team right now. I'm super upset he just got Anthony Stolarz to end that
Bill's
5th
best.
round. Bill's best team. It really is living up to that. Finally, he gets a centerman here with Nico Hischier, and that's a good value pick right there in itself. But he's loaded on the blue line. He's got a number 1 goaltender, especially with Joseph Wall out. He's got a top winger in Mitch Marner, and then probably a really underrated centerman in the league in Nico Hischier.
Really good year last year with Nico Hischier. How about the New Jersey Devils on the come up? Let's not forget, we expected them to take a step. Jack Hughes got hurt. A lot of things kind of didn't go their way at a certain point. However, look, if you have guys like even, Dawson Mercer, I know you don't love Andre Palat, but down the lineup, Stefan Nason, they are a pretty deep forward group. And I think their strength, honestly, Steele, Simon Nemec, Luke Hughes, Siegenthaler, not all jump off the page on the blue, Brett Pesce on the blue line. Their blue line is really good. Not even talking about fantasy for a second. That blue line in New Jersey, I think this team actually should be not even for a second thought outside of the top 3 in the Metro. But you got to pick your round 6, 84th overall. Who are you looking at?
Ooh, deep I got to go to Utah. I got to go to Utah and Dylan Guenther here.
Ooh, okay.
Dylan Guenther here for me. I think he's going again. I really like how the team is looking
Whoa.
right now. That top
Nikishin,
line
third overall, Steele. That's too early. I'm gonna say that. That's too early.
on Dylan Guenther. I don't think so.
No, Alexander Nikishin was taking a pick before you. I think
Oh,
that's
was he?
early. Yeah, 83rd overall. Muskoka.
Yeah, I mean, could be a little early. Yeah, that's definitely a little early. I'm not gonna beat around the bush there. That is early for Nikishin.
Good player, and I know you've been all over him. And look, the Carolina Hurricanes look like they're going to be a real deal situation.
Sorry, Kyler.
Yeah, Kyler, don't worry about it. But if you see Stolars, Heischer, Marchenko, and Nikishin, hey, I hope I'm wrong for those people who are out there putting in work. Clearly, they have been listening to you, Mr. Roden. So maybe that's kind of a nice little hat tip there. I see Mikhail Sergachev at 86. That's one of the players that I definitely wanted. Whoever did that, now I'm upset. Also, shout out to whoever's team name is Demidov's Poutine. It might be Demidov's busted wrist you might want to look at. I don't know why everyone is so heated on Twitter and X between Senators and Montreal Canadiens fans, Steele, but I'll say this. I absolutely love the bloodbath of what is the back and forth. I know Nick Cousins laid a vicious slash down on Demidov's wrist. That's gutless if he's hurt. But shout out to a very good name there with Demidov's Poutine. I'm feeling that one still. Totally not fantasy related.
No, I mean, I just, you're getting ready for the season to start. And I understand preseason is to, it's to showcase some young guys, some prospects, and, obviously get the starters out there for a game or two just to get their legs fresh as well back into game action. But there's really no reason to be throwing these cross checks or slashes on guys in preseason. Honestly, I think they just need to stay away from in-division preseason games. Like it's just getting.
It was a mess. It was a mess.
Yeah, it was an absolute mess out there. So it's a tough look, especially with the season starting around the corner. You don't want anyone getting injured. We already know what happened to Barkov in practice. JT Miller went down in practice as well. These fluky injuries just start to pop up out of nowhere. You don't want that to happen in a preseason game. So it's ugly out there. It's ugly.
Yeah, look, and the slash from Nick Cousins was not something that I exactly promote or condone in any facet. I just find it very interesting that maybe, and this is kind of to the point where you and I spoke about wanting to wait as close to the start of the season to do drafts, and that doesn't always work out. Everyone's busy and all of that. But take a look at what that was last night. And it was a clear disregard for whatever the preseason code of conduct used to be. It used to be, yeah, you play hard. But that looked like Nick Cousins out there trying to hack down a piece of wood in the first round of the postseason. So we don't need to go too far down that rabbit hole. Excuse me, Matvey Michkov I took at 90th overall here, Steele. I think I'm building a very kind of potent offensive club. I got a little comment from my boy Michkov at 90. I appreciate that. I think that's a steal. And when I look at my team, Kropowski, okay, Crosby, Kaprizov, Konechny, Michkov. I like my forward group big time, and I can already tell what I'm going to have to do here in my later rounds, and I think that's something that GMs need to know is assess what your roster's doing. I'm top heavy already. I think I need to pay attention to what's going on my blue line and even in my blue paint. So that's where I'll be looking next. I don't care if I take some heat on the chat, and at the end of the day, too, I need to get grittier, Steele. I've been burned by that in the past. Over to you. How are you feeling about your team? Hit me with who you got on your roster right now.
Yeah, I mean, I've also got top heavy as well. Only one D-man, no goaltender. So the strategy lives on. Jack Eichel, Zach Werenski, Ovechkin, Cole Caulfield, Connor Bedard, and Dylan Guenther. I'm going with a lot of young guys this year. Really skilled players up front. And again, 2 years ago, I wasn't, or 2 or 3 years ago, I wasn't sold on Cole Caulfield. I was like, he's not there yet. I also said the same thing about Elias Pettersson. Cole Caulfield is there, and this Montreal team is going to be dangerous. So
I think so.
There's a lot of really good options. I still think Sam Montembeault is a really good pick later in this draft for whoever drafts him. I mean, hopefully he's still available when I get to that point, but really good options across the board for Montreal. There's a lot of really good teams out there that we want to call in or put into that fantasy gold mine type of tier, and Montreal for me is one of them.
I appreciate this comment here by Jay Skyline talking about a defensive coach in Rick Tocchet, and I guess we're also trying to perhaps base off some other fantasy offensive-minded players that didn't do so well under Tocchet in Vancouver, and I guess I understand that angle, and I appreciate Jay Skyline here all over the chat. However, what I will say is Matvei Michkov clearly still got it done under Torts, who was clipping his wings last year, and he still produced what was it, 60-plus points, Steele? I think it was right in around the 60 mark.
Yep.
Matvei Michkov is going to be an 80-point player all day in this league, regardless of who coaches him. And I actually very much get your angle there, but Rick Tocchet also needs to win games. Philly is a big market hockey team, and they won't take this kind of losing for much longer, and they have to let players like Michkov do their thing. It's a goalie graveyard in Philly, Steele, so there's no way being a completely defensive-minded club this year is going to work. That's my take. They might need to do things a bit differently. I would say Michkov is a steal here at that 90th overall pick. I'm coming up next here in 2 picks, Steele. I'm going to be going to my blue line most likely, although I really do. I don't even want to say it out loud because he brings so much peripheral value here, and I might bite the bullet on him. I don't know. I really like Sam Bennett, like here at 90, ranked 97th. Oh, Sam Bennett was just taken. That's my luck right now. You know what, though? That points me then back in the direction of what I thought made most sense, and that was back to the blue line. So I am going to do that. That's a really good pick by Boosh Dags. I see what you did there. Hey, and this fits perfectly. The next ranked defenseman here, that's my boy Jackson Lacombe. Let's stick to the guns.com, Steele, and continue to take players that I absolutely love. Jackson Lacombe last year, 134 shots on net, 129 blocks, 70 hits, 30 penalty minutes. He almost had 40 points in 75 games. I don't need to say anything more about Jackson Lacombe. Over to you. Who are you looking at next? By the way, we're already 41 minutes deep into this, and I think it's going pretty well so far.
Yeah, I think so too. And again, I don't want to give too much away with some of these picks here, but I probably should address the blue line since I only have Werenski, and not that it's getting slim out there, but it's getting a little slim out there.
It's slim.
John Carlson is the top-ranked defenseman right now. Erik Karlsson's still there. Cam Fowler, Drew Doughty, Morgan Riley. So there's still some decent defensemen available. However, there's a lot of forwards that I am looking at right now. I've got googly eyes looking at some of these players here. So I just want to wait for the next couple of picks, see if they're taken, if they're still available. And I might be a little bit behind the 8 ball when it comes to the blue line and goalies, but I'm sticking to the strategy here.
Look, you did that last year. It's worked out for you. I think what just happened, right, is the standard situation. A couple of players get sniped off your table. Everyone gets a little cagey. You start clicking. You start kind of panic choosing. How much have you and I spoken about navigating the waiver wire is so important? So remember that you still have those options. However, over to you. This is the 7th round, 13th pick, 109th overall selection.
Yeah.
What you doing?
I mean, for me here, it comes down. I need some peripherals, and Joel Eriksson Ek and Andrei Svechnikov are very intriguing to me in this position. I've already got two really good centermen, but a guy like Joel Eriksson Ek, again, just kind of does it all and playing on that top line or at least in the top 6. So I got to go with a Minnesota boy here and get Joel Eriksson Ek on my team.
I'm going to step away for a quick second, Steele. Hold us down, and I'll be right back. My pick coming up. Hopefully, that's enough time. Giddy up.
I will hold down the fort. Holdershaw. LOL. Just had a panic pick with Kadri. Hey, honestly, we talked about this when we were doing the mock drafts. He's one of those players, along with Rupe Hintz and Nico Hischier. Again, you see a lot of centermen fall down the board, but Nazem Kadri is still a guy who can put up 30, 35 goals, 70 points, 75 on the high side, fills out those peripherals, a ton of shot volume. Hey, people are sleeping on the Calgary Flames. So I don't, maybe it was a panic pick, but I actually like it a lot for a guy in the 7th round. And again, I believe you also got Rupe Hintz right before that in the round before. So nothing wrong with Nazem Kadri. Don't worry about that. Lots to love with some of these centermen you can get later in the draft. Matthew Tkachuk right after Joel Eriksson Ek, my pick here. And honestly, yeah, I mean, take a shot on him. He's obviously going to be out until the beginning of December, mid-December. But still, when he comes back, he is going to be a crucial piece to this Florida Panthers team lineup. So, with the injury, it's tough to say where you should pick him. So if you feel like getting him in this 7th round is right, then by all means, Matthew Tkachuk, get after it here. Oh man, this next pick, UC Saros, Sam Montembeault. I got to do it here. There's been 2 really interesting players, and I don't even care if it's a little bit early. A little bit early, but Ivan Demidov, man, I really like this Montreal team. I like this Montreal team. I'm going to pair
even
him
with
up.
that slash. Okay.
Even with the slash. Hey, he's going to be okay. It was precaution why he didn't come back. It was precaution. No reason to get back. But, hey, I'm going to pair him up with Cole Caulfield. That power play is going to be an absolute force to be reckoned with. Absolutely deadly when it comes to special teams. Now, Martin St. Louis is cooking up in Montreal alongside, obviously, Hughes there with the GM job. But, hey, Svechnikov was another guy I was looking at. He goes right after that Demidov pick.
You're not going to get too much disagreement here from me. And I look at my team, Steele. I got Sid at center. I got Kaprizov left wing, Konechny with the dual eligibility, Michkov on right wing. Excuse me. I think at this point I could probably wait, knowing how deep the center position is. I want to address the wing, and I think I'd rather kind of take what I can get on the blue line and in the cage at this point, and try and solidify my forward group with a player that plays on one of the best lines in hockey. And I'm not trying to tip my hand too much. And if someone takes Gabriel Velarde off my table here, that's okay, because I'll go somewhere else. No, honestly, I'll go somewhere else. But that would be a pick here at this point for me that looks really good in my right wing slot. He currently is serving me up center position, dual eligibility as well. And that's a player that right now I'm definitely looking at. If he gets taken, I might pivot, and then I might try and load up my blue line. But that's honestly where I'm looking right now. Hey, Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, I don't need to sell that any more than what's on the paper there. And look, I'm going to go ahead and take him here. I think this could be an absolutely huge pick for me. I see Brad Marchand, I see Mason McTavish, I see Carter Verhaeghe, and I see Matt Duchene as well. Brian Rust is not going to be one that I'm pairing with Sidney Crosby, and I'm okay if I'm wrong about that. I'm going to go with Gabe Velarde. That's one of the highest scoring teams in the NHL. And if we're talking about offensive value here, how many times have you and I said it's going to be really hard in drafts to get a Kyle Connor or Mark Scheifele at this point, right? It's not happening. But maybe you can augment your team with that 3rd-ranked guy on these huge lines. It's across the NHL. So I like this pick here for me, Steele, rounding out my forward group. I would say, though, my team's lacking a little bit of sandpaper, so I might be trying to get some banger league categories covered here over my next couple of picks.
Yeah, I'm really slacking on the goalies here, and goalies are going quick at this point. So that's most likely where I'm going with my next pick. Hopefully, all of them aren't gone by the.
Oh, they're going to fly now.
They go. By my next pick, I'm going to have to start sending some early trades out just to get a decent goaltender.
Dostal, great pick by Hardly Golden Boys. Is Hardly Golden Boys building a dynamo here? Is that the team that's really starting to?
Hey, he's the champ from last year.
Hey, Hardly Golden Boys, stop taking all of my Golden Boys. I'm going to start to throw hands soon here. Hit me in the chat if you have a problem with that. Oh, now he's dropping in and out. Okay, cool. I get it. Hey, he's having a good draft. Brian Rust, Tommy Dasling's team. Figure it out. Anyway, at this point, Steele, look, we're in round 8, 126th overall. I think I'm actually coming up next on the board at 135. At this point, too, it's kind of like if we weren't doing this live, I would say I'm not looking at the picks 7 or 8 ahead of me too hardcore. I'm going to look 3 or 4 ahead because we can't get too bent out of shape at this point. Players that you wanted are going to be gone or taken now right off of your table. That's just the nature of a 16-team league. So not like I'm a super patient person, but this is where patience and deep research really does pay off, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. And again, you got to be able to pivot very quickly when it comes to
Exactly.
these drafts
Thank
because
you.
again, you put players in your queue and they just start dropping like dimes. So
That's exactly what I
you got
meant.
to be able to have a backup plan ready to go, and that's sort of where I'm at right now with goaltenders and defensemen. I still only have one D man with Werenski.
Mm.
It's most likely those two positions where I'm going to be going next because my forward group is actually looking pretty solid here. When I look at my overall team, once again, Eichel, Werenski, Ovechkin, Cole Caulfield, Connor Bedard, Dylan Gunther, Joel Eriksson Ek, and Ivan Demidov. So
Yeah, your forward group is definitely have like a very high upside of elite offensive potential. There is no doubt. What I got going on here might not be as sexy actually, but maybe a little bit more balanced, perhaps. Crosby, Velarde, Kaprizov, Konechny, Michkov, perhaps too many Philadelphia Flyers steal. That could backfire. Jake Sanderson and Jackson Lacombe, I'm feeling very good about on my blue line, especially backed up by Darcy Kemper. I'm thinking that's okay. Look, if things don't go well for Philly, my season might already be derailed. So this is one of those perils of even taking two or more people. Little spicy comment here. Nicholas, let's chat for a Demidov trade steal. Maybe there, if you need a goaltender, talk to Nicholas live chat.
let me take a look at his team so far. Let me
Yeah,
see the
we
goaltenders where
see
he's
you guys. Also, if you guys are still here listening, we see over 20 of you guys on YouTube. Hit us with some questions. What are you looking at with your drafts? You got any queries on the upcoming season, best bets, or what you've already done in your drafts? Would love to talk about it. Please feed us into that chat. I'm up here stealing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks. I think this has been a pretty entertaining draft so far.
Yeah, it has been. Cutter Gauthier, I had him in my queue. They probably saw that. That's
Great
why
pick.
they made that pick. Great pick there.
Great pick.
One of those guys that I think they're actually under projecting for what I believe he could do this season. I'm very high on Cutter Gauthier, and that top 6 forward group in Anaheim is looking good. I like the veteran presence and leadership of a guy like Chris Kreider in the mix. Hopefully Troy Terry can have somewhat of a better season than what we've seen over the last 2 years. Yeah, Cutter Gauthier is a really good pick. These top 3 teams, the first, second, third overall picks, they're shaping up really good here.
And can I be clear here? Who do you have? Do you have a goaltender yet?
I do not have a goaltender, so it is getting thin.
My goodness,
it is getting very thin. I'm most likely going to have to make a trade because this is getting ugly.
But this is kind of an intriguing angle here, where, yeah, of course, we love the 0G. It makes a lot of sense, but I think this holds true to what you and I have been saying. You can't exactly just ride a strategy straight down the barrel all draft. You have to be fluid. Like this is fantasy sports, like it isn't arithmetic. You have to definitely know what's going on pick to pick. Cutter Gauthier.
God damn you, Trevor. God damn you,
Dylan
Trevor.
Cousins, Zeev Buium. There's some good picks here. And you know what, Steele? When I'm looking at these goaltenders, I see Pyotr Kochetkov. I see Freddie Anderson. I see Thatcher Demko. I see Joey Decord. I see Scott Wedgwood, Jet Greaves. These goalies do want to make me kind of wait because none really jump off the page. However,
I can't wait any longer.
I'm going to go with a player that I was high on in the past. He's got the skill set, and he's got the best team that Carolina has had in a long time. And this is the goalie they're going to need to ride. I'm taking Kochetkov. It's risky, but Steele, you know what it also could be? Hugely successful, because Freddie is Freddie, but he has been banged up, and this is their guy. Let's be clear. It's Kochetkov moving forward, and they now have their best team that they've had in a long time. This could be a sneaky good pick here, Steele. It could blow up in my face, no doubt. But however, the other side of it, you know how good Carolina should be this year. I like Kochetkov here in the 10th round.
Man, I'm fine with the pick. I don't think it's Kochetkov's team this year. I don't think
let's
he's
wait
there
and
yet.
see.
And Frederick Anderson, of course, just goes right a couple picks before me. That probably would have been the goaltender that I selected.
You got to go for a goalie now.
I got to go for a goalie at this point. This is getting
Is
ugly.
this a Thatcher Demko reunion, Steele?
No. The bridge is burned. He's listed as out. He's out. He's injured. I can't do it again. Do it again. There's still a few decent options here. Maybe I take that risk with a guy with like Jet Greaves, who has under 10 games played in the National Hockey League. I still think a guy like John Gibson and Cam Talbot could be a spicy duo, spicy tandem for a fantasy team as well.
Well, you want my take here? I see Demko,
Yeah.
Decord, Wedgwood, Greaves, and Stuart Skinner. I don't want to go too crazy here, but if you're talking about the best opportunity to see the most ice on the best team there, to me, it's clearly Stuart Skinner. Take that with you as you will, though.
That's who I went with. I had to get at least one goaltender, and Stuart Skinner has been a goalie that has burned me in the past, once again, multiple times now.
Connor Ingram, you going to tandem the Connor Ingram signing here?
No, I'm not touching that.
Yeah, well, I had to throw it out there because, once again, I hope you liked my Queen Amidala meme because the Connor Ingram signing is a very interesting one. My goodness, man. If the Edmonton Oilers somehow manage to come up that short again, you and I are going to have to probably have a recurring Connor McDavid segment on where he goes. Let's not get too crazy here. You're coming up again. Are you going to fire off another goaltender? Because, dude, honestly, below Jet Greaves, Askarov, John Gibson, Joel Hofer, Tristan Jarry, UPL. This is kind of a spot where you might as well honestly wait and just slap in whoever because you know you're going to have to move him out and perhaps load up on your roster higher up. That's my take, but I'm excited to see what you do.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to keep on waiting here. And there's some really good players still forward wise who are right here for the taking. So if this player is still available, and he is, I think you got to go with Carter Verhaeghe in this instance.
This is a great spot for him, Steele. A lot of value here.
A lot of value with Carter Verhaeghe. So much opportunity now, of course, with Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk out of the lineup. They're going to need those big guys to really step up. And even though I'm limited offensively, I got to add him to the team here because he's just such a good offensive weapon. And, we expect a little bit of a bounce back from what he put up last season, a little bit of a slow start and slow finish, but big opportunity for some of these guys in Florida.
And does it necessarily immediately translate just because the need is there and the pressure is on for him to perform that he does so? No, but this is a Paul Maurice-led club, and this is a player who's also been, Steele, a clutch performer in the postseason. This guy can get it done when the pressure is on. I love Carter Verhaeghe. I think him falling this far makes sense, and I think it also makes sense that you could steal and snag a ton of value. I've got my centers kind of set right now. I got my wingers, aside from maybe one other right wing. I've got still 2 D slots to fill. So just based on how I like to stay filling out my team in a balanced manner, unless there's a player really jumping off the page, I'm going to go to the blue line here. Cam Fowler, Devon Taves, Gustav Forsling, Zane Parekh, Matthias Ekholm. Rasmus Anderson is an intriguing name here, Steele. Steady as she goes with that peripheral coverage. That might be a name that I kind of look to. There's one other name here. Look, I'm not buying into Cam Fowler. He had a really good year last year, kind of out of nowhere.
More so in the playoffs.
You're not super high on the Blues as well, so I'm overlooking Cam Fowler right away. Zane Parekh is too risky for me. I'm looking at Sam Rinzel or Rasmus Anderson, and I think the safer play here, as much as Rinzel might have the higher upside, and I could get burned by taking Rasmus Anderson, I want to balance out my team with some hits and some block shots and some PIMs. So I'm going to take Rasmus Anderson here to balance things out.
Yep.
I think a really riskier pick would be Sam Rinzel, or even lower down the board, farther down the board, if you wanted to take a guy like Brock Faber on a come up. Yeah, I like Rasmus Anderson here, Steele, to round out my blue line. Kind of a safe, steady as she goes pick, if you will.
Yeah, no, solid pick to, I believe, what is that, your third defenseman here? Yeah, Jake Sanderson, you got Jackson Lacombe and Rasmus Anderson. Solid decor right there. When we come back after the break, we will continue the live draft. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. We love FanDuel. It gives us so many ways to play. We've built parlays, tried player props, even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting on Sundays when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com, download the FanDuel app today, and get started.
Got you.
Once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review for your boys here. Thank you so much for everybody tuning into this live show of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast live draft. 26 of you all out there tuning in. So thank you so much.
Hey, let's go.
We're getting after it here. We still got a few more picks, more than a few more picks. I believe we are only in the 11th round here. So there's 18 rounds, 7 more picks for each team. Hey, we'll get through it quick here, but we are having fun on this show.
Look, yes, you are. I just want to be clear that men's are a little long in the tooth on this side of the microphone. So bedtime creeps up a little faster. And look, I think I've done fairly well so far in this draft, and I don't want things to get off the rails. So if Steele has to take us over the line here, Steele, you might have to just do that. However, I'm going to do my absolute best to not just draft 18 Cole Perfettis. But you know, hey, whoa. Mason McTavish, Stone, Kopitar, Protas, Kane, Toffoli, Horvat, Nelson, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and then Perfetti. I don't know how much of a reach it is to take Cole Perfetti with my next pick, to be honest, because, hey, I love me some Bo Horvat. Patrick Kane is intriguing. I really actually like Mason McTavish. However, I think this is the year for Cole Perfetti. If somebody snipes him, I'm going to be a little upset. However, Steele, now you can kind of get, I don't want to say loose, because that's not ever something you want to do in fantasy sports.
No.
But you can start to get a little bit back into your bag of research. You know, a lot of what we said was what's going on in the draft, see what has gone ahead of you. Now you can almost focus in on what you have left on your team and some of the players that you like that are left on the board. So this is where I like to start to get a little, hey, a player like Logan Stankoven's still out here lurking, Steele. I don't want to throw that out there, but you know what I'm saying here? Like, there are some names that I think could be huge. So I just wanted to throw that out. I'm coming out at 167th overall here, Steele. That is the seventh pick upcoming in the 11th round.
Yeah, I mean, man, I'm sweating right now because it's getting
your
tough.
Goalie options are getting thin.
We got a bunch of killers out here. They are ready to dominate this league. And,
2 great picks here, Will Cooley and Evander Kane back to back. Very, very, very good picks.
He was in the queue. Okay. Gone. It doesn't matter. I need to focus on D-man. I need to focus on goaltenders. And you know what? I'm 7. You know, you're up here on the clock.
Yes, sir.
I'll let you. I'll give you the mic so you can make the selection.
No, it's okay. I'm all over the map here. And you know what? Oof, jeez, man. Now it's getting spice.
We're
now
struggling.
It's getting spice. I blame this totally squarely on you. I get center, left wing, right wing eligibility. I've reached on a couple of my favorite players, but I'm doing it, man. This is my year to take off, Steele. I take Cole Perfetti here to fill out my wing spot. And hey, just allow me, okay? I'm just gonna push forward at this point.
Yeah, I gotta go to the blue line. I gotta go to the blue line here. There's no other option.
And who do you have on the blue line right now, if you don't mind?
I have Zach Werenski. That is
my goodness.
That is the only one left. I mean, there's still some decent options here.
Who are you looking at?
I'm not giving that away.
Okay, never mind.
I don't even know. I don't even know at this point.
Though, at this point, considering we are doing it live and there is even probably most of the league just at this point listening, which is totally fine. We appreciate you. We see you. By the way, I definitely lost the comments, so here we go. Yeah, look, I don't necessarily love the approach that you've put yourself in. But I also can't get at you because you've outfinished me the last 3 years. So let's leave it at that.
It always seems to work itself out. You know, like the first 7, you know, the first 8, 9 picks are pretty straightforward for me. I know who I want to get. I have backup plans just in case they get snagged. When it gets after the 10th round, I start to lose it a little bit because not that I'm panicking, but I'm just so, you know, it's thin ice with the goalies and the defensemen. So I just want to see who's taken here. Jake Allen, Racco Gudis, Matthias Ekholm. You know what? I was actually
Adam Fantilli at 157.
Yeah, I saw that as well. I was pretty happy when you didn't pick Zane Perek. I didn't want to say anything. I wanted him to fall swing back around, so that will be my second defenseman.
Could
And
be sneaky,
maybe it's on the riskier side of things, but in the 11th round, a guy who, from what I've seen and from what I've heard, can be a banger league beauty. 70 penalty minutes projected this year. He throws his weight around. He's got that offensive touch, the offensive capabilities, joining the rush and showcasing that. And, I don't have to worry about how he is in the defensive zone. We don't have plus minus as a category. So maybe that lacks a little bit, but he's got the offensive punch and he has that banger league beauty in him.
Hey, look, I think that's a great pick. It comes with inherent risk. I guess I haven't been really keeping my finger on the pulse in terms of if this kid is actually going to stick. In Calgary, obviously, there's a good chance he doesn't. He has got all the skills to be a top 3, top 2, even defenseman. I hope it pans out for you. That's, I think, one of those high risk, high reward spots. But that's what you've done to yourself with this roster. Could pan out, could be huge, could blow up in your face. We'll find out soon.
I'm also going to take another riskier pick. And of course, we don't know exactly what's going on, but he has taken a leave of absence here. And I think it's worth taking a shot on Joseph Wall. I mean, just to get a somewhat decent goaltender here. I know there's Jet Greaves. I know there's, we talked about Cam Talbot a little bit, but out of everybody on this list, I have him as, I'm going to put my faith in him. So I'll probably still most likely get a third goaltender and have him on my bench. But I feel comfortable taking Joseph Walk here, even with not knowing exactly when he'll be back.
And it is also one of those things that, he's healthy, quote unquote. We know Joseph Wall has dealt with injuries, but he was sensational when healthy. And it's an off-ice issue, it sounds like. Not going to say that exactly means he comes right back in and rocks the kind of statistics that he did last season. But he's proven that he does have that skill set in his career. 78 games played, 2.74 goals against, and a .910 save percentage Steele. I think that's a great pick at this time of the draft because he isn't injured. It's an off-ice situation, so he will be back and at least physically ready to go basically right away. I have an empty D slot here. To me, that's where I really want to go. I'm looking at some other forwards here down the list. I see a bunch still there that I like. It's getting thin on the blue line. I want to fill that out for me. Again, I don't want to tip my hand because I'm pretty sure he's going to be taken here. That's okay. I'm going to try and look at some other names down the list. If this was a keeper dynasty league, I'm taking Matthew Schaefer for sure, but he wouldn't be here at this point in the draft. He has obviously shown that he is going to be an everyday NHL defenseman on the top pairing, if not a number one. It's just, will he stick past those first chunk of games? I believe it's 10 games he can play before it counts against his contract. We got Wallman, Burns, Ronek, Letang, Noah Hannafin, which is a pretty good Noah Hannafin on a really good team to cover out my peripherals. Jacob Trouba went there. I think there's a lot of value here in Philip Ronek, Steele. And I know it's not sexy, and I know it's the Vancouver Canucks. The guy has 100-plus blocks, 100-plus hits. He brings penalty minutes. He can score. He plays with Quinn Hughes. This Vancouver team will be better, and I think I got a really good chunk of value here at the end of my blue line with Philip Ronek. I'm really happy with that pick. Last year, he was injured. He still had 30-plus points, 40-plus penalty minutes, and like I said, with the peripheral category love, I expect this year for him to be over 100 hits and near 100 block shots. I think that's a sneaky good pick for me, Steele. That doesn't jump off the page, but kind of rounds me out nicely on my blue line.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting thin back there, so it's a decent pick. Again, I'm staying away from Vancouver when it comes to drafting them. Also, by the way,
I respect
the last category, which I forgot to mention, is game-winning goals. I couldn't remember what it was, but the last category.
I better draft Brock Nelson then.
Yeah, you might as well. Draft Brock Nelson. But
Stud.
yeah, I mean, we're getting a little bit thin back here on the blue line. I mean, you're kind of just picking and choosing who you believe at this point will have somewhat of a decent season. Maybe you take a shot on a couple of young guys, but
I think that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, you kind of have to at this point. I'm still, I've pretty much got all my forwards taken care of. I have 2 D spots available and 4 bench spots available. So still 6 more picks to go before the draft ends. We're having a ton of fun here, of course. Jet Greaves just goes as well to the Blizzard Battalion. He gets paired up with Mackenzie Blackwood. This team is looking really good. Really good team for the Blizzard Battalion here. You got Gabriel Landeskog, a sneaky sleeper pick. Coming back from injury, of course, the last 2 seasons. I actually want to go back to the beginning of round 12 where Sandpaper Finish got Morgan Geekie, because I was also very high on Morgan Geekie. He actually has triple eligibility, center, left wing, and right wing possibility. So a lot of flexibility when it comes to that player. And with the Boston Bruins, like I talked about, they're just looking for secondary scoring. It can't be David Pastrnak. You can't really look to Elias Lindholm to be one of those guys who's popping goals every single night. It has to be Pastrnak and Connor and Morgan Geekie as his sidekick, Robin to his Batman, if you will.
Yeah, and look, it's a tough sell in Boston altogether, but hey, we're all about sticking to the guns podcast in this situation. And I think I'd like to do the same with a player here that I see on the board. He's probably going to be taken again. I'm going to have to regroup with you on this live draft situation in terms of my own personal success. I do like it for the content, though. I think it's been a good listen, even though I can't believe we're already at an hour and 10 minutes here. Matthew Schaefer, interestingly enough, goes off the board at 194. I would say I would have waited a little bit more just based on what other value you can get.
I had him
here.
In the queue. I had him in the queue. He was going to be my next D-man.
And hey, it might work, right? He has really looked good, but it also make a lot of sense that under the meat grinder that is Patrick Waugh, that he doesn't stick with the big club. They are pretty good in terms of steady as she goes defensemen back there. Yeah, they don't jump off the page as a number 1 overall draft pick. But in terms of this season and the style that Patrick Waugh plays, it almost makes more sense that Schaefer has to earn his chops in the minor leagues. So I like it, I guess. To me,
there's a reason why. There's a reason they traded Noah Dobson. I mean, when they get that first overall pick, they know who they're drafting, and he's gonna be entering the league. I don't see why they would have him, down with the farm team, down with the juniors. As of right now, they have Tony DeAngelo running the power play. And I'm not trying to, diss Tony DeAngelo, because he's actually pretty solid in that case when it comes to quarterbacking the man advantage. But Matthew Schaefer coming into the league, he's going to have great protection around him with Romanov, with Pulak, with Pelech, all those defensemen who can keep him safe, and he can kind of do his thing, jumping up, quarterbacking the power play, joining the rush, showcasing his offensive skill set as well. So he was going to be my next defenseman. I think that's why they took him, is because they saw him in the queue when I opened it. But great pick, in my opinion.
Let's go with that. I guess Patrick Waugh is just such a powder keg of emotions.
He's tough. He's a tough coach.
And you also have Lou Lamoriello still. Okay, Pavel Buchnevich goes. I'm happy now because I'm going to just go with the players that I've really liked. I'm taking Matt Coronado here. I think this is a big year coming for Matt Coronado. I really like this player again. Hey, look, there's other names here, right?
No, Nick Schmaltz, also in my queue. He was also in
Nick
the queue.
Schmaltz would have been good. I really did want to take Mason McTavish. He brings you some hits and he brings you some PIMs. There are other names here, but hey, I think this is a huge breakout year for Matt Coronado. He had 24 goals last year. I see 30-plus goals for this young player. I'm going to start now just going back to the Flip young boys, and I'm okay with it. Will it pan out? I don't know, Steele, but it hasn't in the past, so it's got to be this year because I've done more research than ever, and that always pans out.
It always does. And you know what?
I'm being facetious.
I know you are.
Thank you.
Jack Eichel, Connor Bedard. I'm trying to figure out how many centermen. I've only got 3 centermen. I've got a lot of dual eligibility when it comes to the wing position. So maybe I'll go with another centerman. I also need defensemen. So let's take a quick look there while I'm on the clock here.
Might as well.
Burns, Keandre Miller, Sam Dickinson, Justin Falk. It's getting very slim back here, man. This is getting tough. This is getting tough. Brady Shea. You got Travis Sanheim, Tony DeAngelo, who I just talked about. You know what? I need someone who fills out the peripherals. Adam Larson, he gets shots, he gets hits, he gets blocks. not going to jump off the page when it comes to offensive. You know what? I could probably wait. Let's look at this.
Let's look
Oh
at it.
no. 6
Look at it.
seconds. Panic pick. Mason McTavish. I went with Mason McTavish.
I don't think that's too bad of a panic pick.
It's not a bad pick. He just signed that deal, 7 years, I believe. I can't remember exactly for how much, but 7 years with the Anaheim Ducks. He's going to be one of those foundation players as well.
Look, he also likes to mix it up. 70 hits last year, 38 penalty minutes. I don't think that's a bad pick at all. I love what the Ducks have cooking, and I believe he's projected to play with Cutter Gauthier and Mikael Granlund. That could be the perfect balance of a line. I actually love that mix of players in talent and skill sets. So I as much as I know you weren't necessarily looking at that player, I like it. I got Crosby at center right now. I've got up front Velarde, Kaprizov, Konechny, Michkov, Perfetti. On the blue line, Sanderson, Lacombe, and Rasmus Anderson. Philip Ronek in the utility slot so far, Matt Coronado. And in the cage, I've got Darcy Kemper and Pyotr Kochetkov. I think, honestly, Steele, out of all of my picks, the biggest question mark is Pyotr Kochetkov. We know that Freddie Anderson and him are going to head into the season likely for a 50-50 split. However, even on a 50-50 split, if they both have the starts that I expect them to, with a team this solid, there is value here. So if Darcy Kemper and the LA Kings also play how I expect them to, this is going to be a good tandem for me. You're up here, 212th overall.
Goalies is really getting thin here.
Uh-oh.
He was in my queue. I needed a defenseman anyway, so that's fine. I'm fine with Keandre Miller at that position. I was panicking the last two picks. I'm getting a little bit flustered here because all my guys are getting taken. It's getting hot in here, man.
Mm-hmm. It's getting hot in here, and it's also getting a little late in here, Steele. And this is what happens. However, you're going to be just fine. You navigated the waiver wire like an absolute stallion last year, and that's one of those things in fantasy hockey that you're going to have to do. I want a little bit of I don't want to say defensive coverage, because when I look at the other names here, Dmitry Orlov, Owen Power, Sam Dickinson, I think I can probably get by with hitting the waiver wire to fill myself in with some defensive options.
Yeah.
You spoke about it the other day when I mentioned a player that should be getting a very, very good look on a top line on a very offensively minded club. And I'm going to not say the name here. I'm not even going to whisper it, because I think this is going to be another great pick for your boy. I personally have not been as excited for a team in any of our leagues than I have with this one, Steele. Does that mean it's going to pan out? Absolutely not. However, after what I'm putting together here, and I know we got bench spots coming up, I think I'm in good shape. Look, they put Zach Benson up on that top line with Tage Thompson, and Josh Norris is going to hold down that center.
I had a feeling you were going there.
This is going to be huge. I'm telling you, if he stays healthy, the 60 points is so within the realm, and everything else that comes with it could be even juicier. It's Josh Norris for me here, Steele. That's a top-line center on a team that's very offensively inclined with a 40-plus goal man.
Yep.
Hit me with Josh Norris here in the 14th round. I think there's a lot of value for this player at this point in the draft.
Hopefully his shoulder's feeling a lot better after all those surgeries.
Easy.
I know. Hey, if he stays healthy, it could be one of those sneaky picks. So Jonathan Marchessault goes. A little bit surprised he got down to this round as well. Still a guy that can put up 60 points. I know everyone's a little bit nervous when it comes to the Nashville Predators, but a ton of shot volume. So I really like the Jonathan Marchessault pick. I mean, Trevor is just absolutely killing it here. Makar,
shout out to Trevor.
Forsberg, Natchez, Jarvis, Thompson, Pedersen, Dostal. He took my boy Buem, who was in my queue. Boone Jenner, Will Cooley, Will Smith, Leo Carlson, and Jonathan Marchessault. So really good team. Everyone's got a really good team right now. I think I'm at the back end of this draft right now based on how my defensemen and goalies are going.
That's rare. So
it is rare.
I look for the brand, for the club, for the squad. Obviously I want you to be doing really well. Selfishly, considering you've taken me to the woodshed and embarrassed me the last couple of years, I'm feeling a little bit good, if I'm being honest, pal. Look, we're friends, I can tell you. I'm not exactly hating the fact that you think I'm got a one up on you, but it's so early, right? And if you are addressing the fact that you're thinking your team is a little lopsided or top heavy or whatever, even more reason to tap into every single Monday waiver wire episode where we guys got you covered with everything that you need. And that's a key angle to any successful GM. Analyze what you got. Take a look at what the team schedules are running out for the first couple of weeks. Pounce on the good teams up against the I was going to drop a bad word there, Steele. But you know what I'm talking about. Know what you're doing. Hit the waiver wire. It's early. Even if you had a bad draft, lots of options for you to fix your team.
Yeah, there is. And I mean, there's some really good forwards still available, which maybe is where I went wrong with this, is that there still are really good options offensively. So maybe I should have drafted a few defensemen earlier in the draft, but everybody was just looking so enticing, and I wanted them on my team so bad. So I might have to send a couple of early trades to start the season here.
It could happen, Steele. It's something that I think also, again, if you can capitalize on the angles of a team who might be stacked up in a category that you need, in a position that you need, it all holds the same sentiment of knowing what your league is shaking out at, knowing what your competition has. I'm coming up here, Steele. It's the 15th round, 232nd overall, I believe I'm going here. I now have only bench spots left, so I'm going to try and take a few shots. I also want to make sure that as much as I know I can hit the waiver wire for a blue liner, even if something happens between now and the start of the year, I would like to have at least an extra player at every position. That's just how I look at it, so that if the waiver is uncertain or I'm not on top of my team in terms of making those quick adds, which, look, we're all getting busy, I want to at least have one on my bench that I can swap in there. I got Justin Falk here, Sam Dickinson, a very intriguing young defenseman, Steele, with the San Jose Sharks. All the way down the list, Damon Severson, Braden McNabb. Look, Anthony D'Angelo is somewhat attractive for exactly what you said. I look at a guy, though, and I know this is down the board, but his ADP is the highest out of any defenseman right now. Still left on the board in Nico Mikkola. These are some of the spots where it's not going to be sexy, Steele. But if you're trying to fill a spot or have that backup angle, Nico Mikkola is going to be a player that plays with Seth Jones. He gets some looks, I believe, on the penalty kill, second penalty kill. He's going to fill out the peripheral category. So there are some options. But again, you just have to be finger on the pulse at this point of the draft. Like, it's not pretty, obviously.
Yeah, you really do. And we see Mason Marchment, who you talked about as a sleeper option, just go, early in the 15th round. Connor McMichael follows him. Chris Kreider. We talked about Washington Capitals. I think Alexi Protas and Connor McMichael, you're going to still get a ton of value. And we've seen both of them go in the last 2-3 rounds. Chris Kreider is a really good option playing in the top 6 of that Anaheim Ducks group, playing with some really talented young forwards. So, I mean, there's some really good options here. Maybe not so on the blue line, but offensively, really good options. Jimmy Snuggerud still out there. Jake Neighbors is still out there. Dmitry Voronkov is still out there. Ryan Donato, who has triple eligibility. Patrick Laine, who
for
has
you two to partner up a little bit with some offense on my Minnesota side. You like a little late pick on Marco Rossi? How we feeling?
Yeah, I saw. When I noticed that before, when I made the panic pick for Mason McTavish, which actually is pretty decent, I saw Marco Rossi right after down a little bit down the board. So I already have Joel Eriksson Ek. They only have the one eligibility as the center position, so maybe it's not too bad that I didn't get Marco Rossi and I did get Mason McTavish over there. But I mean, Patrick Laine just went as well, dual eligibility. I was thinking about him, but I already have Demidov and Cole Caulfield. I don't want to, fully stack, 3 players from one team on my squad. So yeah, I mean, you just gotta kind of go with some of the good players out there that are still left.
I'm getting fired up about my squad. I won't lie. If Marco Rossi sticks on the top line with Kirill Kaprizov, my team might be hard to stop offensively, Steele. However, like I said, I've got Kemper and Kochetkov in the cage. Kemper seems to mix a really good year with a bad one. So that's a concern. Also, with Kochetkov, such an inconsistent performer, another concern. However, Marco Rossi is my first bench player on a top line on a team that you really like, along with one of the best players in the league. I love it. Then I got Sid, Velarde, Kaprizov, Konechny, Michkov, Perfetti. Blue line, Ronek, Anderson, Lacombe, and Sanderson. Why don't you read me off your roster right after you make your next pick? And we are almost done on our first ever Steele YouTube live draft. Your boy's getting a little sleepy over here, so I'm ready to wrap this bad boy up.
Grab another wobbly pop. We got 3 more picks left. You can power through. I know you can, buddy.
I will try.
I'm looking for my 4th defenseman here. I talked about Adam Larson, Nico Mikkola, you mentioned Darren Radish could be sneaky pick. I think I'm going to go with Romanov just because he fills out all those peripherals, 118 shots, 177 hits, 187 blocks. Might have to make a couple of trades to boost that blue line. But yeah, he fills out that last D spot for me. So I've got Jack Eichel, Connor Bedard, Ovechkin, Caulfield, Gunther, Demidov, Werenski, Parekh, Miller, Romanov, Eriksson Ek, Verhaeghe, Skinner, Wall, and Mason McTavish. So I really like my forward group. I think my 2 defensemen and Werenski and Parekh are very solid, actually. Gets a little bit dicier with Miller and Romanov, don't jump off the page offensively. But again, you can make some quick trades early on in the season.
I need to give some love to picks here going late in the draft. Jake Neighbors is a great selection. Anton Lundell, given what we know is happening with the Florida Panthers, might be my favorite sneaky pick of the entire draft. Anton Lundell is going to get a serious opportunity to perhaps even be the top center with this Florida Panthers team, Steele. And I know Sam Bennett is still there, but it might be 1A, 1B for Paul Maurice. So shout out to Bill's best team. I feel like the squads that are coming together nicely have the guys who just auto set their Yahoo team names, which is kind of intriguing in itself. Absolutely can't say enough about Anton Lundell at 240th overall. If anyone's still out there listening, and I still see some live people out there, I'm loving it. Also, Mitch in the comments, Josh Norris is going to have an amazing year. See you. I appreciate you. Hey, if you want him, hit me with a little offer. Your boy could be available.
Hit the DMs if you want Josh Norris. We could, again, you can make some early trades and kind of get your team where you expected them during the draft if you kind of fell down like I did. But I think I got to go with a goaltender here just because Joseph Wall is the leave of absence. He's not going to be there for the start of the season, and I only have Stuart Skinner right now. So I think I got to go back to the blue paint. And again, it's pretty thin. You got Joel Hofer, but you expect Jordan Binnington obviously to be the number 1 guy, Tristan Jarry, who's going to get a ton of action, but that team in Pittsburgh is just not good. You could go with Charlie Lindgren, even Daniel Vidar. I mean, like Samuel Ersson isn't a shoe in here, so he could be a decent option. I think I'm going to go with UPL.
I like that one, Steele.
Just because of the games played, he can get over 50 games played projected, and you expect a little bit better numbers, which they are projecting him for 27 wins this year, a 902 save percentage before he had an 887 save percentage last season. So I just needed a third goaltender just because of that Joseph Wall scenario.
Totally agree. I like how you're trying to balance things out. I've got 3 bench spots here. I see a bunch of centers on my team. I definitely want to take another D-man, like I said, for some coverage. I want to take a winger. Names still left on the board that are catching some intrigue from your boy, Dmitry Voronkov. I really like Dmitry Voronkov on the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah.
Jimmy Snuggerud sitting here this late might be worth a look for me as a winger. Jackson Blake is still here. That's probably where I'm going to go, but I have a feeling he'll be sniped. That's okay. But I think now, honestly, in a league this deep, Steele, with your last 3 picks, there is an element of luck here that comes in. Yes, everything that I told you about research and preparation is definitely here on point. However, there is definitely an element of being lucky. When there's the names on the board that still are, even all the way down here, Steele, Andrei Kuzmenko, who should get a top line look there. Someone just took Demidov's poutine. That's upsetting. I see you. Good pick with Dmitry Voronkov. I'm still a little bit upset. But that's how I feel about the end of draft, Steele, right? Like, this is where I think watching a lot of hockey does come into play. And just knowing some of the value that could pop off, especially with a guy here that, you know what, I am going to, Snuggerud again. You guys really are listening. I see you and I appreciate that. Back over to you though, so I can focus on this for a second.
Yeah, get the pick in 30 seconds here. I've got a lot of right wingers. I've got 5 right wingers. A lot of them do have dual eligibility though. Only 3 centermen and 3 left wings. So while I do have 2 picks left, I'm probably not going to get a bench defenseman. I think I'm going to pick up 1 more centerman and 1 more left winger just to kind of round out my offensive group. Which, because there are still really good options out there, I might have to make some trades just to bolster up the blue line, like I said. But you got Michael Misa, who could be an interesting pick here. His ADP is 187.5. Top 6 with the San Jose Sharks coming into a rookie season. Projection wise, he's not gonna jump off the page, but he should get a lot of opportunity in San Jose if he plays the full season. You talked about Trevor Zegras and what it could mean playing under Rick Tocchet, what it could mean playing with Matvei Michkov, Owen Tippett on that second line. So he could be a very sneaky option. Even though I said I wouldn't draft Trevor Zegras, he could be one of those last 2 picks for my team.
Why not? And looking like a pretty attractive line there that could have its issues in the defensive end. The Philadelphia Flyers were a very ho-hum club on both ends of the ice. I'm looking now to round out my blue line. I've got a lot of offensive flair here, I think, Steele, in my last 4 picks: Coronado, Rossi, Blake. I kind of want to bring
I like
the
Coronado
boom.
a lot.
I appreciate that. I want to bring the boom a little bit here. I want to bring some sandpaper that if I am up against those teams, I forget which one who just drafted. They drafted 2 Banger League beauties back to back. And, you're kind of in tough in those categories. I want to maybe have someone on the bench that can bring it. Look, deeper down this board, and maybe this is a little tip for you if no one's still listening. Caden Gooley, I see a ton of value here in down the board. 104 block shots last year, 104 hits. But that's how I'm looking here. I do want to kind of round out that physical side of my team. So I'm looking at a player here on the blue line that should do that for me. I'm not going to give it away, even though it's super unsexy. This is my second last pick. I'm seeing some insurance goaltenders going at this point. Joel Hofer, Charlie Lindgren. Those are good kind of third Band-Aid backup options that if the top guy gets hurt, maybe there's more value. Charlie Lindgren I really like. However, it's Logan Thompson's crease there most definitely. And we know how much money the Blues have in Binnington. So 2 good goalies, 2 good backups. But I like that approach, right? This is just the kind of thing you should be doing right now in rounding out the roster. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but you don't want to load up too much. And then, look, a lot of league steal too. You got to burn free agent dollars perhaps for additions. Not all leagues have as many moves as us. So if you can perhaps eliminate 1 or 2 of those to start the week, start the year, and instead of having to go right to the waiver wire and get crazy, and you make a nice pick or 2 in your last 2 rounds, I would say you're already a leg up on the competition.
Yeah, you really are. And I'm just looking at the board here. It sucks so bad that Alexander Barkov's name is still on the draft board here. Just such a tough loss for the Florida Panthers and all their fans. The captain, they were talking about the Olympics and leading the Finnish team, but most likely won't get that opportunity. But yeah, you're right. I mean, with the last 2-3 rounds, you really just need to round out your team as best as possible. I mean, offensively, there's still some decent picks here. Anthony Cirelli could be a sneaky option. Ryan O'Reilly, we mentioned Trevor Zegras, Evgeny Malkin.
Top line center there, and Ryan O'Reilly technically Steele.
Yeah. Top line center. I mean, he's going to put up hopefully over 150 shots, not going to fill out those peripherals too much. The same could be said for a guy like Elias Lindholm. Offensively, maybe 50 points on the high side, but does throw has some physicality to add and offer to the Boston Bruins.
Most definitely. Hey, we have had a lot of drafts and angles come our way over the last couple of years. And at times, and you even said it today yourself, and I think that's a really good takeaway as we wrap this up, that you can do as much pre-hand preparation and knowledge and have a good year last year. If players start to fly off the board that you were really counting on or had there in your queue or were right there, then even more so, that kind of luck angle does come in. This is fantasy hockey. It isn't an exact science. I see names here, Steele, as my last defenseman that I kind of want. Wow, Hardly Golden Boys is really starting to cheese me. I love that pick in Caden Gooley, so I'm going to go to the other name that I wanted.
He's tuning in.
just as a straight beast who's going to throw bodies around and get penalty minutes, Ben Sherrod is not a great defenseman. But on those nights that he snaps and takes a 10-minute misconduct and has 8 hits, I'm going to be thankful that he's filling out my peripheral categories. 1 spot left here on the bench for me, Steele. I believe 2 left for you. Let's wrap this up. Shout out to everybody tuning in. Your boy's ready for a little snack and a little cat nap, if you get me.
Yeah, we are getting to that point. Your boy needs to hit the books as well, as I'm back in school last year for your boy here. So hopefully everything goes well in those regards. But I'm just looking to power through and graduate at this point.
You got
it.
It
has been a whirlwind of
it, babe.
Already. 2 picks left. Braden McNabb, Barrett Hayden, Ben Sherrod have gone the last 3. I am 3 picks away. Again, I'm looking to go after a centerman and left wing. And Trevor Zegras just went to, I just talked about. Lev Shunov for the Chicago Blackhawks has just gone. I'm up on the clock. And, there's two players that I'm willing to take a risk on. You yourself talked about Andrew Mangiapane and what the potential with him could be playing in the top 6 forward group with either Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. I also I also like Vladimir Tarasenko potentially playing in the top 6 with the Minnesota Wild. Shane Pinto can kind of throw the body around. So I'm just going to take a quick little peek down the list here, but in all honesty, I think I'm going to go with Andrew Mangiapane in this regard here.
Okay. I don't know what's going to happen with the Edmonton Oilers forward group.
Yeah, it's tough. It is tough.
So, because he's probably there, Knobloch's going to probably plug and play a whole bunch of guys there.
And at the time, that's exactly what I said when we talked about the episode. They're going to mix and match.
And Trent Frederick is there right now. Trent Frederick is not going to stick playing on the top line with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Let's be clear. He will not be there. This isn't a bold take. So whatever happens in Edmonton, Mackie Semiskevich, boom, bap. Someone is listening and doing their research. I am starting to get upset here, Steele. That was going to be my last pick. You guys, look, I see you. I appreciate you, but can you slow down a little bit on these picks? Because I might have to take Scott Lawton and just rage quit on this the last couple of selections. Whoever that was, Bill's best team, get out of here. I'm rattled. I've got one more pick here. Like, I was thinking of maybe going for some goaltending insurance, but I think I'll rather take a guy that could potentially stick on my roster a little bit longer. Because at this point, a third goaltender, you're probably going to be plugging and playing on a week-to-week basis. Names on the board here, Steele, in terms of forwards anyway. You've got Elias Lindholm, Misa, Matty Beniers, Declare, Evgeny Malkin. I don't know if any of these are jumping off the page for you because it surely isn't happening for me. But there is a name a little bit down the board that I think you might be upset that I take. I'm going to just do it anyway. I hope. Oh, it's up to you. I'm not going to say anything. Go ahead.
Well, I'm here on the clock. It's either between Shane Pinto and Martin Pospisil. Pospisil really just fills out those peripherals, close to 300 hits, 115 shots, 87 penalty minutes. Not going to jump off the page again. I can easily switch him out when it comes to the waiver wire for some of these other options offensively, but he does have dual eligibility, center and left wing, and I do need some help peripherally, so he will be my last pick.
I like that pick, Steele. And I'm glad that you left me this player. I still don't want to put it out loud. No. This is a good one. And it's one that I guess considering No, Dumber Mifflin took Ryan Leonard. Okay, I need to get off this live stream because I'm about to rage out. Now I really don't know what I want to do. Yeesh. I kind of actually like your breakdown on the Shane Pinto angle there. Although I have a lot of centermen, I'd like to take a winger. Cabron. There is Teravainen, Palmieri, Connor Garland, Riley Smith, someone named Maxim Shabanov. That doesn't feel good. Oh my gosh. Now I kind of even just want to go back to the blue line, but hey, it's the last pick of the draft. I'm not going to oversweat.
Take a shot.
Here. Yeah, I'm going to take a shot. I see all the players. You know what? I am going to take a shot. If Michael Misa sticks with the San Jose Sharks, that's a really sexy young rookie who's got a lot of upside. I'll take Michael Misa as my very last draft pick, Steele. And just to recap before I throw it back to you, Crosby, Velarde, Kaprizov, Konechny, Michkov, Perfetti, Sanderson, Lacombe, Anderson, and Ronek on the blue line. Utilities, Coronado and Norris. Goalies, Kemper and Kochetkov. And in my bench, Rossi, Blake, Sherratt, and Misa. I actually really like my bench, Steele. Some upside there. Shout out to everyone tuned in. Shout out to you. Back over to you. Take us out.
Jake Middleton. We got Frank Nazar, who just went, who could be a sneaky option for the Chicago Blackhawks. We are 4 picks away from ending this draft. Ridley Gregg. Ridley Gregg. You went back-to-back Ottawa Senators here. Wow. Tommy, what are we doing really? Are you an Ottawa Senators fan? Because we're going to have to know that in the chat.
Guaranteed,
Send that
Tommy.
in the chat. Jamie Drysdale, Kyle Palmieri. All right. We got some risky options here. I mean, I've already spoken about Jamie Drysdale, but hey, take a risk on this guy. There's still the option of hitting the waiver wire. Real quickly with the last pick, Dev's Dirty Dogs before he makes that pick. Jack Eichel, Connor Bedard, Ovechkin, Caulfield, Gunther, Demidov, Werenski, Parekh, Keandre Miller, Romanov, Eriksson Ek, Verhaeghe, Skinner, Wall, McTavish, UPL, Mangiapane, and Pospisil to round out my team.
Let us know what you think of our squads. Let us know what you think of the episode. We'll be back the rest of the week. Shout out to everyone who tuned in today.
Yeah, thank you so much for everybody that tuned in. It's 29 viewers right now. We really do appreciate it. Everybody leaving the comments on the live stream. Mitch, really appreciate. Thank you so much for all the support. We will see you tomorrow as well. Thank you so much, and we will see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.